So what is the essence of solution focus? 2 years ago, Dominik, Bibiana and I set out on a journey to explore what solution focus in everyday life, or as an everyday life approach might mean to us. And we were snowed in completely, and 2 months, the last 2 months actually, we had almost all the time rain in the row.
Every day, yeah. 12 countries in Europe, 38 states in the US, and 9 provinces in Canada.
And we had to dump the toilet about 200 times.
And Elfie did it about 2 times.
Well, if something works.
If something works, so do more of it. Yeah.
That's what I thought.
We did 60 podcasts, 49 interviews, and about 70 people, solution-focused practitioners on them.
We went to 6 solution-focused conferences. We organized and facilitated 1 online conference, and we spread the word about solution focus at 6 universities who at least have a part of solution focus in their program.
And we saw 7,882 signs of progress. And we know that because almost every day we were looking for them, and Elfie's fan of lists, so you get to this number.
And one time we almost missed our preferred future.
Yep. And much more.
So there's one important thing, amongst others, we learned on our journey, and that is to really appreciate and acknowledge the uniqueness of each and every encounter and of each and every conversation we have. So we are very grateful to be here with you today, and we thank you for being here and for co-creating this thing together with us today.
Yeah, as we solution-focused practitioners know, and also when you're engaged in microanalysis, that everyone who joins an interaction contributes to how the interaction unfolds.
So we would love to invite you to take out your mobile phones now.
Yeah, and the action is in the interaction, and we are curious what you are curious about and what you would like to know more about. So type on your phone.
Can you do that again?
So,
yeah, we'll start with the first question, who's already there.
Creating me time when you're stick together on the van. So how did we do that? That actually reminds me of several stories. And me time is a very, very important thing, even more for me than for Dominik, and it's very useful to know that for both of us. And there was a time when I was really upset. It was raining, everything was dense, and I was really struggling with our journey. And one thing that helped me a lot, that was actually when we drove back the last time from California to the East Coast. And it was raining all the time, as I said. And then, I just noticed that we had to be, to go from one place to the other, so we didn't have a lot of time to stay somewhere. And I told Dominik, this drives me crazy.
And that's important. It's interesting. These are those moments that we were really also focusing on, because now it gets interesting. The question is, how can we refocus in our everyday life?
And one thing that was very helpful for me was to have him and to ask him for support. So the first thing usually I did when I noticed I don't have enough me time was to ask him for a solution-focused conversation.
And there were several ways of how we did that. One was solution ping pong that we like to play. So I ask her a question and she answers with 5 answers. And then she asks me a question, I answer with 5 answers, and we go on and play like a ping pong game, mostly while driving. There were times when we did time to think rounds with the solution-focused question, where everybody of us had like 5 minutes or 7 minutes to think about this question, and then it's the other turn. And there are many different other ways how we did that.
And I'm very fortunate because for me, it's also very nourishing to have a meaningful conversation. So this is one of the languages of love I speak. So fluently, I guess. And to see our drives when Bibiana was sleeping or reading a book or playing herself in the back, to see this time as a time together was very helpful, and to see it as a time that nourishes. And then usually there came up some wonderful solutions. So in this case, when we drove back, it was just stopping at a restaurant, and Dominik was finding a swimming pool with Bibiana. So they went to the official swimming pool there, and I was sitting in a cafe and journaling and reading and just doing whatever I want for 2 hours. So it was really creating those tiny little spaces, even if you can't get the whole thing I was starving for from time to time.
Yeah, and two things that belongs to what we consider the essence for us is how can we refocus in our everyday life? And we discovered this friend power, how sometimes it's difficult to ask ourselves those questions, and you want to try that and you do that and still it kind of doesn't really work. And how important it is to have someone who asks you those questions, be it a coach, a therapist, a partner, and someone who has the same idea, like we in the solution focus ideas and those questions, and really is on your side. So we call it friend power, stronger than willpower. Sometimes it's not enough to want. Sometimes it's good to have someone as a friend to ask you.
And this also connects for me very well to how did you decide about the next destination? This was a very, interesting topic because we didn't have a plan. So we said, drive 1 mile and then see where to go next. And there was a very particular moment when we initially wanted, after half a year, to go to Mexico, cross the borders and come back to the United States, and then travel up the Highway 1 to Vancouver Island. So that was our idea of how we do it. And then we were in Colorado, and both of us noticed, we should do something different. It doesn't feel well. And so Dominik suggested, hey, let's talk about it. We were sitting in the RV, remember?
No.
It was...
Not yet.
It was actually in the driveway of Monica Rotner's home, who is the leader of the Community Justice Center in Boulder, leading 180 people there and doing brilliant and wonderful solution-focused work. She's also the president of the SFBTA right now. And so we were there in her driveway, and we were sitting and feeling like this doesn't feel good to go to Mexico. So we checked in together, and then we talked about it. So what do we want, and how do we want our journey to look like, and what do we need to feel safe? So we had some experiences in Mississippi where we really did not feel safe, and this became a priority for us. So we discussed about those things, and then we checked in, and we had this rule, if something doesn't fit well for one person, both of us look and we have to talk about it. So it's either he gets the sign or I get the sign, and that helped us. And then we noticed, okay, for both of us, it's not good to cross borders to Mexico. We were not sure if we can come back to the United States if we just go out for 2 weeks, and being stuck in Mexico wasn't. I think it was not the intention of our journey. So to travel South America. So that's why we came back, and then. We just said both, let's do it different, and we came up with a different route that brought us finally to some other wonderful encounters.
Yeah, what helped there was that with time people kind of passed us around. And, we got to so many different practitioners, from Monica Rotner, for example. We went to Pamela King, we went to Stephen Langer, we went to Janet Bavalas, went to Hey Sun Moon, and many, many different others. And what we realized there, and thanks to this decision not to go to Mexico, this also became possible, that everybody has, and those are people, mostly people who have been doing solution focus for a long time, who were there maybe in the 80s, and they're all telling you a different story. They're all describing solution focus in a different way. And the longer we traveled, the more we started to appreciate all those differences. And also, for us, became clear that solution focus is very diverse and has to be very diverse. If we talk to Dvora Simon, for example, she talks about how she back then talked with Steve or sent Steve an article about spirituality, and he said, well, that's not my language. And she went on and talks a lot about spirituality and solution focus, and she attracts completely different people than we do.
And Steve was still encouraging her to go because they had this same common ground. And I think this is important also what you mentioned, Czerny, in your talk, to look how does it work, and to, well, if we talk about a brand, but to look what's the common, well, ground, I don't want to use the word ground, but what's common amongst what we do as solution-focused practitioners.
And we're not talking about doing something else than solution-focused, but doing solution-focused, mostly the people do similar things, and they describe it differently. And so we're talking about the descriptions that are different that we start to appreciate because it attracts other people. So the diversity really, became really important for us.
And it was also fascinating, like just the story from comes to my mind when it comes to the two questions: what did we do, and how did we choose the next destination? It was not to go from place to place and to have a specific idea of where we go. It was much more to create a meaningful journey for the three of us. And create a meaningful journey for the three of us does mean that sometimes we couldn't just do what we want, but we had to find places for Bibiana so that she has a good time. That meant that we had to find places where all three of us could have a family time, and it did mean that we had to find places where, well, we can have a good time also maybe for ourselves and enjoy like coffee time for myself.
And coffee time reminds me of our postcards, and we have postcards here. You can get them upstairs, and some of you already have some. We had around 1,500 conversations or facilitated conversations with those postcards with solution-focused questions, and mostly with people who have never come in touch with solution focus. Because if you come in touch with solution focus as a learner, you have to have a quite high education. You know, you don't yet learn that in kindergarten. You have to become a coach, a therapist, a teacher, a social worker, whatever. And we met people on the road who got in touch with solution focus through a question. And what we realized half a year later, or maybe a year later, when Elfie did her birthday project, Hopes and Reasons for Living, with Heather Fisk and Brigitte Lavoie, that people that we met half a year ago registered, and they had no idea back then about solution focus, but you somehow see that every single conversation makes a huge, huge difference. And it's also when we were at the SFBTA conference, we won the Steve the Shazer Memorial Award for Innovation and Solution Focus. And for us, what was interesting, we met all the people who were in the board of the SFBTA, more or less by chance, and they hand us around. And with solution focus, we were always there at the right time. We always had meaningful conversations with them. And when they decided who should we propose to win this award, or give this award, many of those people suggested us, even though we have not been in North America for a long time, because most of the people who win are there for like 20 years and do this work there. And for us, it was a sign of this connection that happens when we interact in everyday conversations with solution focus. Yeah, now we're, of course, curious. I would like to invite you for 2 minutes to talk to each other about the question, well, if you hear that, what we say, if you think of what you do and how that resonates with you, what is for you like one thing that belongs to the essence or to focus that you find important? Just find one word.
Within solution focus.
Within solution focus, one word per person. So what belongs to this essence? We talked about refocus, friend power, questions. Yeah.
Yeah. Wie sagst du jetzt? Get out your mobile phones oder müssen sie jetzt einen anderen Code rein tun?
Nein, der gleiche Zeug, aber das sehen wir.
Ja. Aber du kannst mir ja helfen, aber ich hilft dir. Hey! No. We just had twice, sorry. But you will all come to say something.
So the action is in the interaction.
So please get out your mobile phones again. And everybody involved in an interaction contributes to the unfolding of the interaction, and we would love to find our common essence and make that visible. So we invite you to put in one word or two that are part of your essence of solution focus. And what you see here are important things that we found. That's kind of our start, and elements that are very important to us and became even more important to us throughout our journey. Oh. Innocent.
Wow, thank you very much, and keep posting. It will be still online and available on your phones and there even when we put it away. And yeah, let's find out what we find out during the conference, and maybe we can invite others to do that too. So thank you very much for contributing to this talk.
Thank you.